We have so much high school football coverage for you every week. Every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we have high school football coverage. On Thursdays, Michelle and I preview and predict all of Central Indiana's best games. On Friday, we hear from head coaches from around Central Indiana. And on Friday night, Saturday morning, as close to midnight as we can, we release our Football Friday scoreboard show where Michelle and I go over scores and highlights from Central Indiana and the best games from across the state and talk to coaches and media. Then on Tuesday, we have our football report where we will recap week 3. Again, talk to some coaches and media about what happened, name our offensive, defensive, and two-way player of the week, our coach win and team of the week, and name our Central Indiana Sports Report Top 20 Power Poll. Please join us every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for continued Central Indiana high school football coverage.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Welcome, high school football fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report for our Football Friday preview. The Elwood Panthers at the Alexandria Tigers. And Michelle, we heard from Alexandria head coach Pete Gast, whose Tigers have looked really good through 2 weeks.
Yeah, they have. That they beat Sheridan last week, and even that it was it wasn't close. I wasn't surprised because I knew Alec, but with that offense, their passing attack, especially with the receivers they have, and with Brady Gast, the experience he has, senior, and he's just a smart kid. I knew they would put a lot. I knew they could put points on the board, and I really it didn't surprise me. I thought they would win, you know, maybe 3, 4 touchdowns, but putting up the numbers they did against Sheridan, and I believe that game was on the road, and I think that's what makes that even more impressive. Sheridan doesn't get blown out at home very often, and now granted, it's a new era. Coach Wright is not there anymore, so take that with what you want, but Alexandria, they're cooking, and it's homecoming for the Tigers this week, and you know, kids are going to be fired up, and I really feel sorry for Coach Morales at Elwood. At least they get open the season with a win and take on a team that they can compete with, because I think there's only one other team on their schedule, and Blackford possibly, that they're going to be able to compete with this season. They just don't have the experience, and they're very vanilla and on offense. And you know when you play at the level that they play in, and in the conference they play in with the coaches they have of the other schools, they're gonna shut down vanilla teams. I mean, Tipton did it last week. So it's I feel sorry for Coach Morales and his kids. I just hope that those kids keep plugging away and working hard so that maybe eventually they can change the tide and get football trending back in the right direction over there.
Michelle, this is the opening weekend of the CIC, and you and I will have all the results on our Football Friday scoreboard show, and we will talk to several coaches, maybe even Coach Gast, who we are going to hear from right now. Welcome back to the Central Indiana Sports Report. Alexandria head coach Pete Gast, whose Tigers are 2-0. Coach, I know you had high expectations coming into the season, but awfully nice to see it come to fruition in the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, we really couldn't ask for a better non-conference result. Both Westdell and Sheridan, I feel are just like physical, strong football teams, and we handled that and were able to make big plays and start off well this year.
Coach, I noticed where your practice shirts this year have finish on the back, and and I understand and I get that. And do you see a your kids, your team being more focused each week than maybe in the past, as far as focused in understanding when you guys tell them that, okay, we may have beaten Sheridan the score that we did, but here's still some of our mistakes that we need to get cleaned up if we want to challenge for the Central Indiana Conference.
Yeah, definitely. I feel you're right on. We're always going to make mistakes. We strive to clean those up. We want to be really consistent with how hard we play. We don't want to let up and have lapses. We don't want to start a game where we're not ready to go with the kickoff and all of a sudden you're down 7. We want to play hard all the time, put 11 guys out there that are going to go hard as they can, as long as they can. And then, that theme finish obviously works throughout the course of a play or a game. But it ties in what you were, alluding earlier. We've got, aspirations to compete in our conference for a championship. We've got aspirations to be there in the sectional and compete to win a sectional championship. And we just haven't finished those tasks the past few years. So that's kind of where that slogan came from.
Well, and I know the one thing, because I'm very familiar with Sheridan, because I usually see them play every year when they play Tri Central, and for years they also play Tipton. And for you to beat Sheridan like you did, that means you guys probably, it means you won the battle of the trenches and you pretty much dominated the line of scrimmage both ways. So I say you're pretty pleased with how your line play has been so far.
I'm going to start with the defensive side of the ball. We've got a lot of kids in that front, 7, 8 kids that are 4 years in the program, 3 years in the program, juniors who, spend a ton of time working hard in the weight room. And, we don't want to get pushed around by a team that's just physically bigger than us. And we kind of have that group. We've got that group that can battle in the trenches and does a good job in the weight room. So, we're kind of hanging our hat on that defensive side of the ball in that regard. Our offensive line right now, our starting group is just 2 juniors and 3 sophomores. So we're young, but we really like those 5 kids. They're athletic, they're smart, and got some size up there as well. So I feel like that offensive line, better times are ahead. Just the more we get reps and get experience, that group's going to gel and really just continue to get better through the season.
And your son is having I mean, he's off to a phenomenal start as well.
He is, and he's a hard worker. He's got a really accurate, the ability to just get the ball in tight places at the right time. But I've got to also credit his, along with just his work ethic and his desire to be as best he can. He's got a lot of weapons around him. He's really blessed to have, 4 really solid receivers and a good running back there, and makes it. I mean, he'd be the first to admit that makes his job a lot easier.
All right, Coach, you mentioned that it was a great non-conference. Now the conference begins. It starts at home on Friday against Elwood. And I don't want to just breeze by Elwood here, but the conference, through the non-conference schedule has just looked so good, especially those 4 teams in Grant County and yourself.
Yeah, it's going to be a heck of a season as far as just each week's going to be a battle. Elwood, we are not ever going to just take teams like that lightly. We don't want to set ourselves up for failure. Weeks like this, we just kind of focus on ourselves, and you talked about making mistakes and cleaning up errors. That's our focus this week, is to, just play our game, get our game better. And if we do that, we'll like the results. But then you're right, after Elwood, boy, oh boy, we got Eastbrook, followed by Mississinawa, followed by Oak Hill. And there isn't going to be a time to catch a breath. We're going to have to be on top of our game.
Coach, I bet you're really happy that you scored over 100 points this season. I bet you're even more happy that you gave up 8 points in the first 7 quarters.
Yeah, it's going to come down. We're talking about finish, and we're talking about winning a championship at either in a conference or a section. It's going to come down to our defense performing. We're going to get that night things aren't clicking. Maybe the weather's not cooperating, and we want to hang our hat on stopping people and not letting them score and finding ways to win in that regard too. But no, the offense, we just have the ability at any time to hit a big one. I know our coaches and I think one of the things we're impressed about Brady at quarterback, Brady Gast, is when he gets out of the pocket, he just does a great job of keeping his eyes down the field. And he probably throws just as well, if not better, on the run as he does in the pocket. And you never can account for that as a defensive coach when the kid gets out of the pocket and all of a sudden those routes get broken off in different directions. And those we kind of make a living off of those plays. And it's one of those things where that formula of hitting big plays and playing tough defense could take us a long way if we can just keep getting better.
Coach, tell me a little bit about Will Rowland and how valuable he is on both sides of the ball to your team.
I think Will is a super valuable kid. He's a 2-time team captain voted by his teammates. Just outstanding young man. He's a leader in a lot of like the church related functions at our school, and excellent GPA. But then out on the football field, he just like flips a switch. He's one of those kids. He's the nicest kid away from the field, and then when he's on the field, look out, because he's physical, he's athletic. He's everything you want in a linebacker. But then on offense, he's got hands and good route running ability. Along with the ability to like stick his nose in there and block and so forth. So kids like Will, well, you got to love them. They're just so valuable, and they just do a lot of things for you on both sides of the ball. And on top of that, before I in my answer, he's an excellent long snapper. I feel like if he wanted to go play beyond high school, there's a lot of places out there where take a kid that can run and tackle like him and is a very above average long snapper.
All right, Michelle, you kind of spoiled it a little to begin, but this one's pretty obvious. Your prediction on the Alexandria Elwood game.
Wow. Unfortunately, it is obvious. It's homecoming, like I said, at Alexandria. I expect this game to start the second half under a running clock. I believe it. It will.
Hey, last year it was competitive for a half, Michelle.
I know, and that was last year, and this is this year, and and I talked about it, and I talked about it with Coach Gass in that interview. Alexandria's got one word on the back of their team T-shirts this year: finish, and it's because they have been good, but they have been unable to finish, and especially come the sectional. And I think that this is a group that is laser focused. And I believe, they know that they just have some, they're on a mission. They would like to win their second CIC championship in 3 years. They want to win a sectional, and let's face it, not only is that CIC tough with, 4-5 teams competing for the championship, that sectional, that sectional is going to be a bear. It might be as hard. It's going to be as hard or harder to win the sectional as is the conference for the Tigers.
Yeah, no doubt.
Eastern, Tipton, Eastbrook.
They could be really, really good this year and not win any championships. That's how tough their sectional and conference is. Thank you so much, Michelle. As always, always appreciate it.
Always my pleasure.
The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.